The vapor trail carved through the Arizona sky like a surgeon's blade, too precise for commercial traffic, too erratic for standard military operations. Lieutenant Colonel Marcus, Viper, Kellerman squinted through his F-16's canopy, watching the contrail twist in patterns that shouldn't exist, patterns that triggered something buried deep in his memory from flight school theoretical courses. The trail belonged to an aircraft moving at impossible angles, executing maneuvers that violated basic aerodynamics. Yet there it was, 30,000 feet above the Sonoran Desert, defying explanation. Tower, this is Falcon 17 requesting immediate radar confirmation on bogey bearing 270, altitude 30,000. Viper transmitted, his voice steady despite the ice forming in his stomach. The response crackled back through static-laden frequencies. Falcon 17, negative contact on scope. Repeat, negative radar signature at reported coordinates. But Viper's eyes didn't lie. The trail continued its impossible dance, weaving through thermals with surgical precision. More troubling was the complete radio silence from whatever aircraft was painting that sky signature. Every pilot knew the cardinal rule: maintain communication. Radio silence meant either equipment failure or deliberate concealment. Neither possibility offered comfort over restricted airspace. His wingman, Captain Torres, pulled alongside. "Viper, you seeing this ghost show too?" Torres transmitted over their tactical frequency. "My instruments are clean, but that contrail's writing poetry up there." The mystery deepened when Viper accessed historical flight data on his tactical display. The pattern matched archived footage from 15 years prior, a classified incident that had been sealed and forgotten by everyone except a handful of Pentagon analysts and one very specific pilot who had vanished from active duty after that incident. The implications struck him like vertigo. "Torres, switch to encrypted channel 7, Viper ordered, his training overriding his bewilderment. "We need to contact base immediately." But their communications array had begun experiencing unprecedented interference. Static flooded every frequency, creating an electronic wall that isolated them from ground control. Their radios, designed to penetrate enemy jamming, couldn't reach their own tower 15 miles away. Yet somehow, threading through the static like a whispered secret, came a single transmission. A female voice, call sign Raven, using authentication codes that shouldn't exist. Any station, this is Raven requesting immediate priority landing clearance. Emergency fuel state, systems compromised. Viper's blood turned to ice water. Raven was a ghost. A call sign retired after a pilot had supposedly died in an experimental flight over this exact airspace. According to official records, Raven had perished when her prototype aircraft disintegrated during high-altitude testing. Her body was never recovered, her plane never found, her existence quietly erased from squadron rosters. Yet here was her voice, cutting through electromagnetic chaos like she'd never left the sky. Major Kestrel, Raven, Thorn fought against the stick as her modified F-22 bucked through atmospheric disturbances that her instruments couldn't properly analyze. 15 years of exile from military airspace, 15 years of classified black budget testing in remote Nevada facilities, and she was finally coming home to face the consequences of knowledge the Pentagon wished had died with her. The aircraft beneath her hands represented technology that officially didn't exist, adaptive stealth systems that could render her invisible to conventional radar, while generating the electromagnetic interference that was currently blinding two F-16 pilots below. Her fuel gauge showed critical levels, but that wasn't her primary concern. The data she carried in encrypted memory cores represented 15 years of proof that the military had developed aircraft capabilities decades beyond public knowledge. Capabilities that certain Pentagon factions wanted permanently buried along with anyone who possessed them. "Raven to Falcon flight, do not attempt intercept," she transmitted, knowing her words were reaching Viper and Tors despite their communication difficulties. "Repeat, maintain safe distance. My aircraft is experiencing systemic failures." The lie came easily after years of practice. Her systems functioned perfectly, but the two F-16 pilots below represented the first human contact she'd experienced since beginning her unauthorized flight from Area 52. Seeing their aircraft triggered memories of squadron camaraderie she'd been forced to abandon when her experimental test pilot duties had crossed into territory that required absolute secrecy. Below, Viper was frantically attempting to re-establish contact with his base while pursuing the impossible aircraft that defied his understanding of physics. His F-16, state-of-the-art by conventional standards, felt primitive compared to whatever was generating those impossible vapor trails. The aircraft above moved like it was immune to gravity, executing turns that should have liquefied any human pilot. "Tors, are you getting readings on this thing?" Viper transmitted over their squadron frequency. "Negative, Viper. It's like chasing a mirage with afterburners." Raven monitored their communications while simultaneously running diagnostic checks on her aircraft's stealth systems. The F-22 had been extensively modified during her years in the black budget programs. Adaptive skin that could alter radar signatures, engines that burned fuel compositions unavailable to standard military aircraft, and flight systems that integrated human consciousness with computer processing in ways that remained classified beyond top secret levels. Her unauthorized flight represented the ultimate test of systems that had consumed billions in development funding. But more than that, it represented her decision to finally surface from the deep black world and force accountability for programs that existed outside congressional oversight. The irony wasn't lost on her that she was being pursued by pilots flying aircraft she had helped design improvements for during her years in classified development. Viper and Tors were exceptional pilots, but they were operating with technology that was already obsolete compared to what she commanded. Viper's frustration mounted as his attempts to contact base command continued failing. The electromagnetic interference seemed focused specifically on preventing him from reporting the encounter, while leaving internal aircraft systems unaffected. Professional paranoia began overriding his confusion as he recognized the hallmarks of deliberate electronic warfare. Tors, this isn't equipment failure, he transmitted. Someone's jamming us selectively. Tor's F-16 pulled closer to Viper's aircraft as they continued pursuing the mysterious contrail. You thinking hostile action? I'm thinking we're in the middle of something we weren't briefed on, Viper replied, his training shifting into threat assessment mode. That aircraft is broadcasting civilian emergency codes while demonstrating military capabilities that shouldn't exist. Above them, Raven made a decision that would alter the trajectory of all their lives. She began descending, her aircraft transitioning from impossible high-altitude maneuvers to a more conventional flight profile. The electromagnetic interference gradually lessened as she powered down her stealth systems, allowing normal communication to resume between the F-16 pilots and their base. Falcon Flight, this is Tower. We're showing your position but negative contact on additional aircraft. Please confirm status. Viper keyed his microphone while keeping visual contact with the descending aircraft above. Tower, Falcon 17 has visual on unidentified aircraft bearing 275, descending through flight level 250. Aircraft is not appearing on radar but is clearly visible. The pause from tower control stretched longer than normal protocol allowed. When the response came, it carried undertones of forced calm that experienced pilots recognized as barely controlled panic. Falcon 17, you are ordered to discontinue pursuit and return to base immediately. Repeat, RTB immediately. But Viper had spent too many years following orders that made sense to blindly obey orders that didn't. The aircraft above continued its descent, and something about its flight characteristics triggered recognition that had been gnawing at his subconscious since first seeing those impossible vapor trails. Raven's aircraft materialized on their radar displays as her stealth systems fully disengaged, revealing an F-22 configuration that included modifications not present on any Raptor in active service. The aircraft's profile showed extensions and alterations that suggested capabilities beyond conventional understanding. Jesus Christ, Tours look at that configuration, Viper transmitted privately to his wingman. That's not standard military hardware. Tours studied the radar signature while maintaining visual contact. Viper, that aircraft matches no known friendly designation, but it's definitely not hostile origin. Their radio crackled with another transmission from the mysterious pilot. Falcon Flight, this is Raven. I'm declaring emergency status and requesting escort to nearest suitable airfield. My fuel state is critical, and I have priority intelligence requiring immediate debriefing. The voice carried authority that transcended rank structure, the confidence of someone accustomed to command regardless of official designation. More significantly, it carried the unmistakable cadence of American military training, specifically advanced pilot instruction that marked her as one of their own. Viper made the decision that would define his career. Raven, this is Falcon 17. We'll escort you to base. What's your emergency nature? Falcon 17. My emergency is that I've been dead for 15 years, and I'm finally ready to prove otherwise. The transmission sent ice through both F-16 pilots' veins, but professional training overrode personal shock. They formed up alongside the modified F-22, creating a three-aircraft formation that descended toward Luke Air Force Base, while ground control scrambled to understand what was approaching their airspace. In the base command center, Colonel Harrison received the initial report with the kind of skepticism that 15 years of routine operations had cultivated. Unidentified aircraft appeared regularly in restricted airspace, usually civilian pilots who had strayed from approved flight paths or military aircraft with temporary communication failures. The duty officer's report seemed to follow standard patterns until specific details began emerging. Sir, the aircraft is transmitting authentication codes that our system shows as expired, the communications specialist reported. The codes belong to Major Kestrel Thorne, call sign Raven, but our database shows her killed in action 15 years ago. Harrison felt the familiar weight of classified knowledge settling on his shoulders. Raven wasn't a name that appeared in normal squadron databases, but it definitely existed in compartmentalized files that required special authorization to access. Files that detailed experimental programs and test pilots who had vanished into black-budget operations. "Get me the Pentagon," Harrison ordered. "Priority 1 classification." Meanwhile, approaching Luke Air Force Base, Raven monitored communications between her escort and ground control while running final system checks on her aircraft. 15 years of exile were about to end, and she knew the reception would likely involve detention, interrogation, and possibly charges related to unauthorized possession of classified aircraft. But the data cores secured in her aircraft contained evidence of programs that had operated beyond congressional oversight, developing capabilities that had been deployed without proper authority or accountability. Evidence that certain Pentagon officials would prefer remained buried along with anyone who possessed it. Viper maintained formation alongside the modified F-22 while processing the implications of escorting a supposedly dead pilot flying an aircraft that shouldn't exist. His radio crackled with updated instructions from tower control. Falcon 17, you are directed to escort unknown aircraft to designated landing area separate from main field. Security personnel will assume custody upon landing. The instructions confirmed what Viper had suspected. This wasn't a routine emergency landing. The aircraft beside him represented something significant enough to warrant immediate security protocols and isolation procedures. Tors transmitted privately to Viper. "This is way above our pay grade, brother." "Copy that, Tors, but we're already in it now." Raven's voice cut through their private communication. "Falcon Flight, I want you both to know that what you've witnessed today will likely require security debriefings and non-disclosure agreements. I apologize for involving you in matters you didn't volunteer for." Her apology carried weight that suggested she understood the personal cost of becoming involved in classified operations. Both F-16 pilots recognized the tone. They'd heard it from veterans who had seen action that couldn't be discussed publicly, who carried knowledge that isolated them from normal military community. As Luke Air Force Base appeared on the horizon, Raven began final approach preparations, while simultaneously executing secure data transfers from her aircraft's memory cores to encrypted personal storage devices. The information she carried represented insurance against those who might prefer her permanent silence, but it also represented her commitment to accountability within military leadership. The tower cleared them for landing on a runway that had been hastily cleared of other traffic, with security vehicles already positioning themselves around the designated area. Ground crews stood ready with specialized equipment that suggested they had been briefed on handling unusual aircraft configurations. Viper and Tors landed first, their F-16s touching down with practiced precision on the main runway. They watched as the modified F-22 executed a landing that demonstrated pilot skill beyond normal training parameters. The aircraft seemed to float onto the runway with supernatural grace, its modified systems allowing for approach angles that would have stalled conventional aircraft. Security personnel immediately surrounded both aircraft as engines wound down. Raven remained in her cockpit for several moments, running final shutdown procedures on systems that required specific sequences to prevent automatic data destruction. Her aircraft represented 15 years of development that officially didn't exist. An improper shutdown could trigger security protocols that would render the technology irretrievable. Colonel Harrison arrived as Raven finally opened her canopy, removing her helmet to reveal features that matched archived photographs from 15 years prior, unchanged by time in ways that suggested medical intervention or genetic enhancement beyond normal military health care. Major Thorne, Harrison addressed her formally, though her actual rank status remained unclear after 15 years of classified service. Welcome back to the world. Raven climbed down from her aircraft with movements that demonstrated perfect physical conditioning, despite supposedly being 15 years older. She carried herself with the confidence of someone accustomed to command responsibility, and the wariness of someone who had operated outside normal military protection for an extended period. "Colonel," she responded, recognizing his rank insignia while evaluating the security posture around her aircraft. "I have priority intelligence requiring immediate secure briefing with Pentagon liaison personnel." Harrison gestured toward waiting vehicles while security specialists began examining her aircraft with equipment designed for analyzing advanced technology. "That briefing is already being arranged. But first, we need to establish your current status and authority." The implication was clear. Until her identity and authorization were confirmed through appropriate channels, she would be treated as a potential security risk despite her apparent military background and knowledge of proper procedures. Viper and Tors watched the exchange while undergoing their own debriefing with intelligence specialists who had arrived remarkably quickly for personnel supposedly unprepared for this encounter. The rapid response suggested that someone had been anticipating Raven's eventual return, even if the timing remained unexpected. "Gentlemen," an Air Force intelligence captain addressed them, "what you witnessed today involves ongoing classified operations. You'll be required to sign non-disclosure agreements and submit to security interviews." Neither pilot objected. They recognized that their involvement had crossed into territory that required special handling. But both retained questions about the aircraft they had escorted and the pilot who had supposedly returned from the dead. In the secure briefing facility, Raven faced a panel of officers representing various intelligence agencies and Pentagon departments. The speed with which they had assembled suggested that protocols existed for her eventual return, even if 15 years had passed since those protocols had been established. "Major Thorne," the senior officer began, "you are officially listed as killed in action. Your current status raises significant questions about operations you've been involved with during your absence from normal military structure. Raven removed a secure data device from her flight suit, placing it on the briefing table where it immediately triggered security scanners. Gentlemen, what I'm about to share with you will require immediate contact with congressional oversight committees. The programs I've been involved with have operated beyond authorized parameters. The room's atmosphere shifted as officers realized they were confronting not just an unexplained return, but potentially a whistleblower with access to highly classified information. The data device on the table represented 15 years of evidence regarding black budget operations that had avoided normal accountability mechanisms. Meanwhile, Viper and Tors completed their individual debriefings, signing documents that legally bound them to silence regarding the day's events. But as they prepared to return to normal squadron duties, both pilots understood that they had witnessed something that would fundamentally alter their understanding of military aviation capabilities. The modified F-22 remained under guard in a hangar that had been hastily converted into a secure analysis facility. Technical specialists with clearances beyond normal military levels began examining systems that represented technology unavailable to conventional forces. Initial analysis revealed adaptive materials that could alter electromagnetic signatures in real time, propulsion systems that utilized fuel compositions not present in standard military inventories, and flight computers that integrated biological interfaces in ways that suggested human-machine synthesis beyond current public technology. Dr. Sarah Chen, the lead technical analyst, reported her preliminary findings to the briefing panel. Gentlemen, this aircraft incorporates technology that appears to be decades ahead of our current capabilities. The modifications suggest development programs with budgets and resources beyond normal military procurement. Her assessment confirmed what Raven had been attempting to reveal, that black budget programs had achieved technological advances while operating outside congressional oversight and public accountability. The aircraft represented proof of capabilities that could reshape understanding of military aviation, if such capabilities could be acknowledged publicly. The briefing continued through the night as Raven provided detailed testimony regarding 15 years of classified operations, experimental programs, and technology development that had occurred in facilities that officially didn't exist. Her testimony painted a picture of military research that had advanced far beyond public knowledge, while avoiding normal oversight mechanisms. The programs I've been involved with have developed capabilities that could provide significant strategic advantages, Raven explained to the panel. but they've also operated with minimal accountability and oversight. Congressional intelligence committees have been systematically excluded from programs that utilize taxpayer funding. Her revelations triggered immediate discussions regarding political implications, media management, and congressional notification requirements. The technology she had revealed could provide military advantages, but it also represented potential political scandals if improperly managed. Colonel Harrison received updated orders throughout the night as Pentagon officials attempted to assess the full implications of Raven's return. The situation required delicate handling to prevent unauthorized disclosure while ensuring proper oversight of the programs she had revealed. By morning, additional personnel had arrived at Luke Air Force Base representing various government agencies, congressional staff members, and technical specialists with expertise in advanced aerospace technology. The initial mysterious aircraft encounter had evolved into a multi-agency investigation, with implications extending far beyond military aviation. Viper and Tours reported for normal squadron duties, but found their schedules had been modified to accommodate ongoing security requirements. Their involvement in the previous day's events had made them witnesses to classified operations that required careful management. Weird how one routine patrol flight can change everything, Tours commented as they reviewed modified flight schedules. Viper nodded while studying weather reports that seemed less important than they had 24 hours previously. Makes you wonder what else is flying around up there that we're not supposed to see. Their speculation was interrupted by notification that both pilots were being transferred to temporary duty assignment pending completion of the ongoing investigation. The transfer orders were accompanied by security briefings that emphasized their continued obligations regarding non-disclosure. Meanwhile, Raven underwent extensive medical evaluation to confirm her identity and assess her physical condition after 15 years of classified service. The examinations revealed physiological modifications that suggested medical intervention beyond normal military health care. Enhanced reflexes, improved cardiovascular capacity, and neurological adaptations that supported the human-machine interface systems in her aircraft. Dr. Martinez, conducting the medical evaluation, documented findings that raised additional questions about the programs Raven had been involved with. Major, your physiological profile shows modifications consistent with experimental enhancement programs. Can you provide information about medical procedures you've undergone? Raven's response revealed another layer of the classified operations she had been part of. Doctor, the programs I've been involved with included human performance enhancement research. Pilots selected for advanced aircraft required physiological modifications to interface with systems that exceeded normal human capabilities. Her revelation suggested that the technology in her aircraft was only part of broader programs that had included human experimentation and enhancement. The implications extended beyond aerospace technology into areas of human genetic and physiological modification that would raise significant ethical and oversight concerns. The investigation expanded as additional evidence emerged regarding the scope and duration of the classified programs. Congressional oversight committees were briefed on preliminary findings, while Pentagon officials attempted to assess potential security breaches and public relations implications. Senator Williams, chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, received classified briefings that painted a disturbing picture of military programs operating beyond congressional oversight. How long have these programs been operating without appropriate notification? She demanded of Pentagon representatives. The answer revealed systemic issues within military procurement and research management that had allowed black budget programs to operate for decades while avoiding normal accountability mechanisms. Raven's return had exposed problems that extended far beyond a single aircraft or pilot. Technical analysis of Raven's aircraft continued revealing capabilities that challenged fundamental understanding of aerospace engineering. The adaptive materials responded to electromagnetic fields in ways that suggested nanotechnology integration, while the propulsion systems utilized fuel composition that appeared to violate conventional chemistry. Dr. Chen's detailed analysis documented systems that represented technological leaps comparable to moving from propeller aircraft to jet engines. The level of advancement suggests research programs with resources and duration far beyond normal military development cycles, she reported. Her findings supported Raven's testimony regarding the scope and sophistication of the programs she had been involved with. The technology represented decades of development that had occurred parallel to conventional military research, while remaining compartmentalized from normal oversight. As the investigation continued, additional witnesses emerged from within military and contractor organizations. Personnel who had been involved with related programs began providing testimony that corroborated Raven's accounts and expanded understanding of the broader operations. Master Sergeant Rodriguez, a maintenance specialist with 30 years of experience, testified regarding aircraft configurations he had worked on that matched descriptions of Raven's modifications. We knew we were working on special projects, but we were told they were future development programs, not operational systems. His testimony revealed that operational deployment of advanced technology had occurred, while personnel involved believed they were working on experimental programs. The compartmentalization had prevented most participants from understanding the full scope of what they were contributing to. The investigation revealed a complex web of classified programs, contractor relationships, and compartmentalized operations that had effectively created a parallel military development structure operating outside normal oversight. Raven's decision to surface had exposed systemic issues within defense procurement and research management. Pentagon officials faced difficult decisions regarding how to address the revealed programs while maintaining necessary security classifications and avoiding political scandal. The technology represented genuine strategic capabilities that could provide military advantages if properly managed and deployed. Secretary of Defense Johnson convened classified briefings with senior military leadership to assess options for addressing the situation. We need to determine how to maintain operational security while ensuring proper oversight going forward, he directed. The briefings revealed tensions between operational security requirements and accountability obligations. The programs had developed valuable capabilities, but their management had violated normal oversight procedures and possibly legal requirements for congressional notification. Meanwhile, Raven remained in protective custody while her testimony continued, and her security status was evaluated. Her revelations had made her a valuable witness for oversight investigations, but also a potential target for those who preferred the programs remain concealed. Major, your safety is our primary concern while these investigations continue, Colonel Harrison explained during one of her debriefing sessions. There are individuals who would prefer this information remain classified indefinitely. His warning acknowledged that Raven's decision to surface had created personal security risks, in addition to professional and legal complications. The knowledge she possessed made her valuable to oversight authorities, but potentially dangerous to those who had managed the classified programs. The security arrangements around her reflected these concerns, with protective measures that suggested threats beyond normal military security requirements. Her isolation wasn't just about controlling information. It was about protecting someone whose testimony could expose decades of unauthorized operations. Viper and Tors remained under modified duty assignment while serving as witnesses for the ongoing investigation. Their involvement had made them part of the expanding inquiry into classified programs and unauthorized operations. Both pilots found themselves questioning their understanding of military aviation capabilities and the scope of classified operations within their service. The encounter with Raven's aircraft had revealed technology gaps that suggested their training and experience, represented only partial knowledge of actual capabilities. Makes you wonder what else they're not telling us, Torres commented during one of their restricted briefings. Viper nodded while reviewing classified documents that had been declassified specifically for their testimony. 15 years, she was flying aircraft that make our F-16s look like museum pieces. What else is out there we don't know about? Their speculation reflected broader questions raised by the investigation about military transparency, technological capabilities, and the relationship between classified programs and normal military operations. As weeks passed, the investigation expanded to include congressional hearings, inspector general reviews, and interagency coordination regarding oversight and accountability measures. Raven's decision to surface had triggered examinations of military research and procurement that extended far beyond her individual case. Congressional hearings provided public forums for addressing some aspects of the revealed programs while maintaining security classifications for operational details. Senator Williams led hearings that explored oversight procedures and accountability mechanisms within defense research. The American people deserve assurance that military research programs operate within appropriate legal and ethical boundaries, she stated during public testimony. The revelations from this case suggest systemic failures in oversight and accountability. Her hearings revealed that multiple congressional committees had been excluded from oversight of programs that utilized significant taxpayer funding and developed capabilities with strategic implications. The compartmentalization had prevented normal accountability mechanisms from functioning effectively. Pentagon officials testifying before congressional committees faced difficult questions about program management, oversight procedures, and the legal authority for operations that had continued for decades without appropriate notification. General Peterson, representing the Air Force research community, acknowledged systematic failures while defending the strategic value of the developed capabilities. The programs produced technology that provides significant advantages, but we acknowledge that oversight procedures were inadequate. His testimony revealed the tension between maintaining security for valuable capabilities and ensuring appropriate accountability for public resources and authority. The programs had achieved remarkable technological advances while operating outside normal oversight mechanisms. Media coverage of the congressional hearings focused on oversight and accountability issues, while avoiding detailed discussion of specific capabilities for security reasons. Public attention concentrated on questions of transparency and civilian control of military operations. Investigative journalists attempted to develop additional information about the programs while respecting security classifications and avoiding disclosure of operationally sensitive details. Their reporting highlighted broader issues of military transparency and congressional oversight. The investigation's findings led to significant changes in oversight procedures for classified military research programs. New requirements established congressional notification procedures and audit mechanisms designed to prevent similar oversight failures. Raven's testimony contributed to policy changes that balanced security requirements with accountability obligations. Her decision to surface had exposed problems that required systematic correction to maintain public trust in military institutions. Major Thorne's actions have led to important improvements in oversight and accountability, Senator Williams acknowledged during final hearings on the matter. Her courage in coming forward has served the public interest. The recognition acknowledged that Raven's decision to reveal classified operations had ultimately strengthened military institutions by exposing and correcting systemic oversight failures. Her actions had demonstrated that individual accountability could trump institutional secrecy when necessary for public interest. Technical analysis of Raven's aircraft continued providing insights into advanced aerospace capabilities, while contributing to legitimate research programs operating under proper oversight. The technology was gradually integrated into authorized development programs with appropriate congressional notification. Dr. Chen led research teams that studied the adaptive materials and propulsion systems under authorized programs designed to advance military capabilities while maintaining proper oversight. The technology represents genuine advances that can contribute to national security when properly managed, she reported. Her research contributed to development programs that incorporated lessons learned from the classified operations, while operating within normal accountability structures. The advanced capabilities were preserved while correcting the oversight failures that had characterized their original development. Viper and Tors returned to normal squadron operations with enhanced understanding of advanced military capabilities and appreciation for the importance of oversight and accountability in military research. Their experience had provided unique insights into the intersection of technology and accountability. Both pilots continued their military careers with deeper understanding of the complexities involved in managing classified programs while maintaining democratic accountability. Their involvement had demonstrated how individual service members could become witnesses to systemic issues requiring correction. Raven eventually returned to active duty status, with assignments that utilized her unique experience and expertise while operating within normal military structures. Her knowledge of advanced systems made her valuable for legitimate research and development programs. Her career resumed within properly authorized programs that incorporated lessons learned from the oversight failures she had exposed. The technology she had helped develop continued advancing military capabilities while operating under appropriate congressional oversight. The case became a study in balancing security requirements with accountability obligations, demonstrating how individual courage could expose and correct systemic failures within military institutions. Raven's decision to surface had ultimately strengthened rather than weakened military capabilities by ensuring proper oversight. Years later, the investigation's outcomes continued influencing military research and development programs, with oversight procedures and accountability mechanisms that reflected lessons learned from the case. The balance between security and transparency had been improved through reforms triggered by one pilot's decision to surface from the classified world. The sky above Arizona continued hosting military operations, but with enhanced oversight and accountability measures that ensured such operations served public interest while maintaining necessary security. Raven's vapor trail had marked not just her return, but the beginning of reforms that strengthened military institutions through improved transparency and accountability.